Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My pleasure this evening to introduce to you a guy in Mississauga that's probably done more for the arts and the community than almost anyone else, Ron Duquette. Ron, how are you today?
I'm just terrific, Brian. Nice to be chatting with you.
Nice to be chatting with you. Ron, you won a big award last year. What was the big award?
Well, golly, what was it I won last year? I can't remember. You know, awards don't really mean that.
You win so many awards.
They don't mean that much to me. I mean, I love what I do, and when you get recognized, that's wonderful. But I put them on the table in my office, and then they kind of stay there and collect dust.
Why has community been so important to you? Why have you gotten involved in what is it called, the Walk of Fame at Legends Row at City Hall, and the Mississauga Arts Council, and the big festival in Port Credit and just after Labor Day.
Southside Shuffle, yeah.
Southside Shuffle. Why have you gotten involved in so many different things?
Well, you know what? I don't know. It just was one of those things that happened in my younger days as I was growing up in Mississauga, building my business. And it seemed that there were a lot of organizations looking to fundraise and create awareness and that sort of thing. And I just really enjoyed getting involved with these kinds of organizations. And, you meet so many great people and you collaborate and you learn. And in my case, a lot of these folks I've met have become lifelong friends. So it was just kind of a natural thing. And, I love my city, and I think, more people should probably get involved in as much as they can. Some people don't have the time. I did have the time, and I certainly enjoy it.
Now, you're, on behalf of the Mississauga Arts Council, sponsoring a big event coming up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we, back in Hazel's first term, I think it was in the early 80s, probably around 81, she was instrumental in initiating the creation of the Mississauga Arts Council. She felt very strongly about the fact that no community is a strong community without the arts. And so we wanted to kind of recognize the fact that she did create MAC and brought together a bunch of our young artists who've been involved in the city for many, many years. And we've put this tribute together. It's now become 100 years in 100 minutes. So it's almost like a feature film, if you will.
Fantastic. So this is a tribute to Hazel or a tribute to Mississauga Arts Council, or both?
Absolutely a tribute to Hazel. It's the Mississauga Arts Council and the artists of Mississauga coming together to recognize her birthday and thank her really for what she's done for our city.
And when's this going to be aired?
It's going to be streamed on the 14th of February, which is her birthday, Valentine's Day, at 7:30 in the evening on YouTube and Facebook. And people can get to the link by simply going to the Mississauga Arts Council website.
And tell us who some of the artists are.
Well, we've got 13 performers or performances. And the show itself, Brian, is really kind of interesting because it's kind of a mini documentary of Hazel's life from birth right through to retirement. And we've kind of highlighted some of the key and salient points of her career, if you will, growing up and what have you. And then we've merged artistic presentations throughout the evening as well, along with a whole range of tributes that are coming in from the Prime Minister on down. So it's kind of chock full of all kinds of neat little things, and I think it's going to be very interesting. We have a fabulous dance routine that brought together 7 ethnic groups from around the city to perform this piece. It was actually at her retirement gala 6-7 years ago. So we've brought that back. We've got Chuck Jackson from Port Credit, who is our Mr. Blues here in Mississauga, and his band does a piece called Flip, Flop, and Fly, which is a very famous tune that the Downchild Blues Band did, and he's the lead singer of Downchild.
We've now, Ron, been joined by former Mayor Hazel McCallion.
Hi, Hazel. How are you?
Oh, very good. Very good. Couldn't be better.
So Hazel, Madam former Mayor, I'm not sure exactly what the appropriate title is, but welcome to our show. Ron Duquette's just telling us about this tribute that's occurring on February the 14th, your birthday. Happy birthday in advance. Oh. And he's going to have numerous different artists tell us and sing about your career. How do you feel about this event?
I think it's fantastic. Ron has unique ideas. He always had. He made such a contribution to Mississauga with his, I think he would sit down and try to decide what new idea can I come up with to promote the city and to promote the community. So Ron, congratulations again.
Well, thank you, Hazel. But thank you really goes to you for being the impetus for this project, because your 36 years as mayor certainly created an unbelievable city. And when you look back at what you accomplished and our city has accomplished in that time, it's not difficult to bring a bunch of people together and celebrate. And that's what this project is all about. It's celebrating what you've accomplished, celebrating the fact that you were instrumental in actually creating the Mississauga Arts Council, because you recognize the need for an organization to bring the arts together in Mississauga. And that's really why this all came about. We want the arts community to celebrate your 100th birthday, and what a significant birthday that is.
Ron, remind us when the event is happening and how do people log in, please?
Yes, it's going to be on Hazel's birthday, February the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, and incidentally is officially Hazel McCallion Day in Ontario, if most people don't know that. And it's going to be streamed at 7:30 in the evening on YouTube and Facebook Live. And the show is, it's going to be 100 minutes, so 100 years in 100 minutes. And we're going to cover a lot of territory in that 100 minutes.
And it's going to be on Facebook Live, and it's going to be on YouTube. And people would go to what website or to Mississauga Arts Council to join in?
Yes, you just go to the MississaugaArtsCouncil.com and you'll be able to link right there.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take a break for some messages and come back. And Ron's going to introduce us to some of the artists that are performing at this concert. So we'll get a little preview of what's going to be happening. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute. Well, welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Wasn't that special seeing Hazel McCallion come in and welcome us all to her event that's happening again on February the 14th. I now want to introduce you to some of the performers that are going to be participating in this special tribute to Hazel McCallion. First of all, Patty Janetta Baker. Patty is an incredible performer. I've had the pleasure of hearing her perform on numerous occasions. She did this unbelievable tribute to her father, who was the maitre d' at the Imperial Room at the Royal York Hotel. And the show where she sings a lot of the songs along with some other people from the era that her father was the maitre d' was just wonderful. I've also had the pleasure of dancing to some of her music when she's been performing after the different mayor's galas that Ron Duquette was kind enough to chair. And Denise Leslie, who is a jazz singer who's been singing jazz for her whole life, it sounds like, raised her family here in Mississauga. And now she's getting involved in upping her game, she says, and getting more dedicated. And to two unbelievably good young talents, Heather Christine, who I first met when I joined the Mississauga Arts Council board. She was, I think, the youth coordinator or the communications coordinator or something like that. Found out that she danced with my daughter at the Canadian Dance Company and was trained by Eileen Lupian, and then was shocked to find out that she was an unbelievable singer and performer. And then she got together with one of my favorite guitarists, Matt Zaidi, who used to perform at what I never can pronounce it right. Cuculanes or Cuculans? Cucullans. Thank you so much. And was a great performer. So all of you, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be Pleasure.
Happy to be here.
So, I'd like each one of you to tell us a little bit about yourselves and what Hazel means to you, but maybe just talk about the production. I understand that all four of you recorded this at Metalworks. Patty, let's start with you. What was that like performing for Hazel at Metalworks during COVID-19?
I know. Well, it's like coming home because I did 2 out of 3 of my albums at Metalworks. So my first one was there, and then my second, and then I did a lot of recording with Ronnie Hawkins. That's where I did my music with Bo Diddley when we were on tour. We came in from on tour, and in the middle of the night, Metalworks opened up so that we could record a duet, Bo Diddley and I. So it was like coming home, and it was great because I felt so comfortable. The track was so magnificent, from the Mississauga Symphony Orchestra. Thanks to Ron.
Maybe Patty, I can just jump in for 1 second and describe what you just mentioned, because Brian, what we did with the piece that Patty is doing is we got the Mississauga Symphony, 50 pieces of the Mississauga Symphony on the stage at the Living Arts Center in Hammerson Hall to do the soundtrack for Patty's piece. So that was recorded separately a few weeks before Patty did the lyrics. And so what people are going to see the night of the show is this combination of the Mississauga Symphony and Patty Janetta Baker all coming together to do a wonderful piece of music. And Patty, you can describe it.
Okay, I can say what it is now. I've been keeping it a secret. Okay. Well, one of my most beloved songs in the world, but one that, as Ron knows, I have never sang publicly because sometimes I just feel a song that's so iconic, how can you do it? But Ron always challenges me like he did with Rise Up Mississauga. And he said, you could do this. And I actually engaged one of my best friends, Jackie Richardson, to coach me a little because it was just different for me. But I sang The Way We Were. And that song means a lot to me, but also when you're looking at the relationship in the song, what it will mean to different people that see the movie know it's a man-woman love relationship. But between Hazel and I, it's been a very long relationship. I was just as an emerging artist, even before my first record deal, she asked me to perform for the very first Canada Day celebration in Mississauga. And that took place in Jack Darling Park. And I think there was about 400 people showed up, but I've been performing for her ever since. Anywhere. This is funny. I was at the launch of her wine, her wine label.
Hazel wine. And we can see all the bobbleheads right beside you too.
Yeah, and all the bobbleheads. I've got all the collections. I've seen her for every occasion. I think all birthdays, not all, but many, many birthdays when I could. So she even came to the launch of my father's book in the Imperial Room, and she was the guest speaker. So, there's a long history between Hazel and I, and love her dearly. And what else can I say? I was very honored to be asked to do this.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing The Way We Were. Denise, what about yourself? What was the production like? What did you perform? And do you have a history with Hazel?
I don't. I just have worshipped, I guess, from afar. I remember, first of all, my song is You Make Me Feel So Young. And it's funny because I know these guys were brainstorming while the emails were flying around. Patty, you probably had a bit of that going on too. But I knew what was going on. I knew these guys were brainstorming and trying to make this thing happen, which was exciting to me. And so finally they said, okay, Denise, you make me feel so young. So I couldn't think of a more appropriate song. Bravo for you guys for coming up with such a great suggestion, and love the tune.
I got to tell you that this morning, Ron and I interviewed Hazel, and I was reading an article that was written when she was 90 years old that talked about the surprise of the writer about how active she was and how mentally sharp she was. 10 years later, she's unbelievable. So she does make you feel young.
Absolutely. It sounds cliche, but so not. She really does inspire. And young girls, a good for instance. I remember when we first moved here, our kids were little, and we went to the Mandarin restaurant, the one up in Brampton with all the Christmas lights. It was always a big deal going there. Yeah. So we went there, and there she was, couple of tables over, and there was a big lineup of people waiting to get an autograph from Hazel McCallion. So we just sort of stood and watched in awe as she had just been served her well, maybe fifth plate. You know how Mandarin is, it's like 4 and 5, certainly. I don't know. But she got up and she spent all this time, with the hand on the hip, listening to all their stories and answering all their questions, and just, it was really something. This would have been 2011. So I guess she probably passed over the reins to Bonnie just a few years after that, eh?
I've learned a lot about politics from her. She used to shop in a different grocery store every week so that she would see different people. She would go to different restaurants, and she was incredibly good at saying hello and greeting anyone that came up. What about you, Matt and Heather? How are you guys? What did you sing, and what was it like performing for Hazel at Metalworks? And I know you've performed for her personally on numerous occasions.
Sure. We sang Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon. Heather and I have two very different histories with Hazel, because we've both done things for Hazel's events over the years. My folks actually, when I was younger, we did, when Hazel was spearheading that project, Tunis for Tanzania. I actually performed at a benefit for that, for the fundraiser when I was, I guess at that point I was probably like 18 or 19 or 20 or something. So a long time ago. And over the years, I've been able to work on a number of different functions across the city. I mean, Hazel's an icon. She sets a standard for leadership and for what she's done in this city. So for me, this was just an exciting process. It was great, and it's a great song too. So for me, it was a lot of fun. Heather?
I remember my very first week starting at the Mississauga Arts Council when I was just fresh out of college, 22 years old. And I was in the elevator at Mississauga City Hall, and Hazel was there with me. And I was like, oh my God, it's the mayor. And I remember she looked over at me and she was like, it's nice to see new young people starting with the city of Mississauga, and welcome. And I remember just feeling like, oh my God, because when you're starting your career and you're so young and working at City Hall, you just feel like the bottom of the barrel, right? So to be personally welcomed and to be like, just to have that greeting from the very top of the city just felt incredible. And I just think for me, she's an amazing icon of female leadership. Like looking at the dates, my whole entire lifetime since I was born, she was the mayor of Mississauga, and then it was Bonnie. So to always know that a woman is leading the city and there's a woman in female leadership is huge. I think it seeps into your subconscious, and it's whenever as a female, I feel like something's not possible for me. All the time I look up to people like Mayor Hazel McCallion, Patty Janetta, look at this, Denise Leslie, Bonnie Crombie, amazing women. It's so much more than just being a mayor. I feel like it's us younger women and the young girls behind us. We are all looking up to these elders. And I think she's just an amazing woman with a beautiful message that is so important for us still today. So we were honored to sing for her, and we hope that she likes it.
Yeah, we had a great time at Metalworks as well. We actually, to give us as much time with the video as we could, we actually pre-recorded our audio. So I did some of the engineering, and we had a friend of ours help in as well, just because we wanted to make sure that we would have enough time with the video. And it was a lot of fun. I think it was my third time doing some work at Metalworks. And Heather, it was your first time?
It was my very first time. So I was just so honored, and it was definitely a bucket list opportunity. And I love Prince and Tina Turner and Sade and the Cranberries and Patty Janetta. So to be in that room and to say, oh my God, so many of my icons, David Bowie, have recorded in this space. That's something that I do not take for granted. Many artists have never stepped foot in that studio. So I was definitely soaked it in, and I was so grateful to live to experience that. So it meant a lot. So thanks so much, Mississauga Arts Council.
And Ron, I understand that you've got...
Why don't you talk about the other members of your team, your band members, because they were certainly a big part of the project as well.
Oh yeah, we were when we were approached by the Arts Council to do this, it was we were teamed up with Arlene Pakulin as well, who's another great Mississauga, from Mississauga.
And she won Volunteer of the Year, I think, back in like 2015. And Mayor Hazel McCallion herself presented that award to Arlene. And Arlene is a huge artist with a message of empowerment for women and females. So definitely, I feel like her work aligns with this project and aligns with, you know, the legacy of Hazel, Madam Hazel.
Yeah, like everything about everything is in terms of the people we were working with, the song and the arrangement, everything just felt like a really natural fit, and it came together really nicely. So Arlene being a pianist as well meant that we could have some piano and guitar on it. Plus we were able to put all three of our vocals together. So it was great. We're really honored to be a part of the project.
Ron, I understand you've got a whole collection of other artists as well.
Yeah, but Denise, let's talk about your band members. They're well known in the Mississauga area too.
Yeah, I scored. I did really well. And they're all available. I guess, you know, people have more free time, I suppose, now because of COVID. But anyway, they were all thrilled to be a part of it. I had Pat Collins on bass, who is Supremo bass player, Canadian bass player. He's iconic. And he's an educator as well over at Mohawk College. So he rose to the occasion, as did Rob Thaler, who plays piano for the Ballet School of Canada, a National Ballet School of Canada, and swings hard. He's really swinging piano player. And I had Jay Beamer on drums, Jay's just a great guy. And I sing with the Mississauga Big Band Jazz Ensemble as well. And he is their drummer. And he's just a really great drummer. He's got a great feel for his brushes. And anyways, I can't speak any higher of him. And we went in there and we wanted to be able to perform off the floor, as jazz musicians kind of like to do. It's like a team thing. I mean, I've done the booth thing, gone into the booths individually, which is great. It's just a different animal. And so we wanted to be able to record right off the floor. And we weren't sure if they were going to be able to do it. Stupid me. And they just looked at me and went, yeah, no problem. Worry about it. So it was great. It turned out fantastic. We had a really good time. It was really, really nice. And I too, you guys, was thrilled to be in that studio. And my goodness, what a lovely gig to have after all this time with, you know,
on how many other people are performing?
Well, we've got a total of 13 different performances throughout the show, Brian. And I think I mentioned earlier, the show has become 100 years in 100 minutes. So it's like a feature film, if you will. But we've covered all the bases. We've got an incredible dance routine that covers 6 or 7 ethnic dance groups throughout the city that have all come together. This actually was produced for Hazel's retirement gala 6-7 years ago. And this group all came together. We created an original piece of music, and Lada Pata choreographed the project. And it's really something. I think people are going to love it. We've got blues. Chuck Jackson, of course, Mr. Blues, is going to do that part. We've got a group from Port Credit, 22 artists from Port Credit came together just early COVID and did a piece, Under Pressure, the well-known piece, Under Pressure. And we've got that included in the show as well. And at one point, all 22 people are on the screen. So it's
going to be a very special event, I'm sure. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Patty Janetta Baker, Denise Leslie, Maddie Zeta, Heather Christine, and Ron Duquette, who is the executive producer, I presume, of this event, honoring Hazel McCallion, former mayor of Mississauga, on February the 14th, going to be on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Ron Duquette, who's the executive producer of a special tribute to Hazel McCallion, the former mayor of Mississauga, who on February the 14th turns 100. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. I've spent some time with Hazel recently, and she is as energetic and as quick with her wit and quick with her comments as you could ever imagine her to be. And she really is a I hate to use the word, a freak of nature. Like there's something special about what she's all about. Joining Ron and performing on this special are Patty Janetta Baker, Denise Leslie, Matt Zadie, and Heather Christine, who are with us tonight. Patty, when we talked to Hazel, she talked about being a young female, and she started out first of all in hockey, and then in accounting, and then in youth church organizations. And Ron and I asked her how she could do it. And this was, 1940s. And she said, the key to being a female and being successful in public life is confidence. You were very young when you first, hit it big. What was the keys to you?
Well, with me, obviously it was just luck, being at the right place at the right time, because I was only 17 when I got into the Canadian production of Jesus Christ Superstar. So I had to go tour the US and all over with a tutor and a chaperone, and it was thrown into the life and sort of had to somehow adapt myself. And you had to have some confidence because it was a crazy life to get into when you only ever sang in the high school pit band. So I was discovered in high school. And sort of I had to grow my confidence on as I went on. As I learned each new thing, I had to say, will I do this, and rise to the occasion. I just said to myself, if you want this, and there's a reason why this has been given to you. So just do whatever you can, learn as much as you can about this profession that you're now thrown into. Because I wanted to be an artist. My plans were to go to OCA, and I'd taken art classes since I was 10 years old. But all of a sudden I was a singer. So confidence, absolutely. All of a sudden I was singing in front of 50,000 people in Poland at the biggest song festival, doing a duet with Charles Aznavour that I had to learn on the plane. So these are the kind of things that were thrown at me from the beginning of my career. And either you did or you didn't. Either you say, yes to doing a song that you've never done before and try and make it the best you can be and believe in yourself, or you don't do it. So I've always said yes. I'm going to try this and give it the best I can. And the confidence just kind of came because I wasn't an overly confident person at the very beginning, to tell you the truth. And I had lots of self-doubt, but something, I looked at women also like Mayor Hazel McCallion. She was my mayor. We all looked up to her. Oh my goodness. I mean, the evacuation. I was just a young married. We just moved into our house when all of a sudden we got, and just the fact that all around the world they were talking about Hazel and what she'd done. And then afterwards, fast forwarding through my career, everybody all over the world knew who Hazel was. Oh, you're from Mississauga. You've got that mayor, Hazel McCallion. Oh, she's been on TV shows. There she is with, all the stars in the world knew who she was. But also, and I know I want to wrap this up for you because I talk too much sometimes. But but for me, being able to be with her on such momentous occasions in her life meant a lot to me. That she'd always ask me to sing at her birthday or whatever, but always she wanted me to sing "Oh Canada." And I thought, I'm a rock pop singer, but when it came to "Oh Canada," I always sang it very straight. And she said to me once, "I like the way you sing it." She called me Janetta. She'd go, "I like the way you sing it, Janetta. You don't put all those frills in it. You gotta make the anthem the anthem." And then whenever I'd sing it somewhere, she'd put her way up behind me, and and then in the back of my neck, well, not really, somewhere around here, because even I'm short, she's shorter, but I hear this voice, "That's the way to do it, Janetta." So,
well, I got to tell you that, Heather, I think the very first time I heard you ever perform was "Oh Canada." And I can't remember what it was, but I didn't know that you were a performer or a singer at all. I just
That's right. And you came up to me and you were like, "I hope you know what you're doing." I remember I was like, "Don't worry." I remember like, show a little faith. But speaking of "Oh Canada," it actually triggers a memory of when I was working for the Mississauga Arts Council. It was February the 14th, I think like 2011. I was wearing jeans to work. Okay. I'm sitting there at my desk and in comes one of the people from the communications department with the city of Mississauga. And they're like, "Heather, it's Mayor Hazel's 90th birthday. Can you come upstairs to the Sea Cafe and sing "O Canada"? And I was like, okay. So then I just like Patty said, okay, off I go. And I'm singing at the official thing and like Michael Shan's on the keys.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wearing my jeans and I'm like, oh, Canada. So there were a few times when it was like, let's go. It's the "Oh Canada" thing for the city. All right, off we go. So
Heather, where did you get your confidence from?
oh my goodness, confidence. Well, I think that confidence is a daily battle for, I think, many of us, but I do think that there's a spark of creativity. There's a spark of connection in me. So I feel that my confidence comes from like using my voice and singing. And I think there's a magical thing that happens from artists when we see beautiful souls like Patty Janetta and like Hazel McCallion and like Denise. And when you see other women rise and use their voice and express their opinions, there's power in that. There's magic in that. And it truly does spark you. So I feel that connection that we have with each other is special and it's real. So I genuinely feel that from women like Patty. And, you know, I want to rise and be the very best songwriter and artist and woman that I can be for the young artists that come behind me and look up to me. So for me, it's a very real thing. When I hear, you know, sentiments from Patty and things that she says, like, I said, yes, I rose, I'm thinking to myself, there's a song there, Patty. And I remember meeting Patty Janetta, like, you know, 12 years ago or whatever, and listening to the gems and the jewels that she was saying at that time. And I remember one of my colleagues saying to her, oh, well, when I was singing, when I was young, and I remember this woman saying to me, you don't sing. Like she was laughing at me, but I was listening to what Patty was saying and I was taking her words of wisdom. So for me, I really, really value the opportunity to learn from people ahead of us.
Denise, what about you? Tell us about your start.
Yeah, I've been given a chance to really think about this while all you guys were talking. But in my former work life, I was a designer and I worked for a big textile company. And yeah, it takes a while. You have to have a few experiences under your belt because I was the same way. Crappy self-esteem, actually. And what got me, and I had my music, but I wasn't doing anything really much with it way back then. But I remember getting up and making presentations. And I was good at it. And I just really liked doing it. And getting up in front of people more and more and more often. And while I was at Ryerson Design School, I remember them saying, yeah, you know, you're a good designer. I was okay, but we want you to present, you know. And so that the more life experiences you have under your belt, the better things get. And especially we're in those boardrooms with men. Ooh, yeah. I remember being a young woman and being pretty intimidated by that. That was a little much.
Matt, you run a bunch of open mics, and you must counsel lots of people that have to perform for, you know, one of the first times they've ever performed. What do you tell them?
For a lot of people, I tell them a combination of things. One, that it is a skill set that you develop over a period of time. There are some people that seem to have a knack for just knowing how to open up in front of a crowd and really own it. But for a lot of people, it's coming out of your shell. It's being willing to be authentic in someone and be vulnerable and take a risk. You know, it's one of those things that things can happen sometimes when you're on stage, things can go wrong, and you just have to rise above it and do the very best that you can and really put yourself out there. I know for myself, like in terms of performing, I've been in situations where strings break and microphones don't work, and you know, you have to move through it and just, and you know, really bring your very best to it. And so there are times where I'm sure everyone here has had to adapt on the spot. And you know, it's what I tell people is, you know, the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more that you do it, the more you can really be yourself at it, because you know, it's okay to have those butterflies. You can channel that and really bring that to your performance and really, you know, let the audience know, you know, it's okay. I'm going to be me.
Hazel McCallion was always a huge supporter of the arts, and was one of the key catalysts for the creation of the Mississauga Arts Council, got the Living Arts Center built, and I think probably has been important in all of our careers and our time in Mississauga. Do you think that's important, Patty? Do you think it's important having politicians that support the arts?
Absolutely. From the very beginning, Hazel always did. As one of the founders of the Mississauga Waterfront Festival, it was very important for us to get buy-in from politicians, and especially from our mayor. And from the beginning, she was such an advocate for us. I don't think she ever missed one opening ceremony. And also, she never missed one opening ceremony for, say, like Mississauga Telfest, any of the other festivals that we brought to the city of Mississauga. She's always there, always supporting, always cutting the ribbon at the opening ceremonies or walking in the parades. That's always been really important to her. And actually, if she's not there, you really feel a big hole, like Hazel's not here, and she's not there. Now with the Mississauga Music Walk of Fame, of which I was an organizer way before, I got the star. They took me off the committee, that, lied to me about it, and so hid all that from me, believe me. But anyway, has been so instrumental also in supporting that, and Oscar Peterson. I mean, they were such dear friends, and thanks to Ron, we got footage for the Walk of Fame from him, but Hazel was all over it. And because Oscar's no longer with us, I got to interview Hazel about Oscar. And in that interview, she also talked about the arts and about many artists in Mississauga, people have made their mark, and how important it is to her, and with her foundation as well. So yeah, I think that she's been a leader from the beginning. As long as there's been arts and focus on the arts in Mississauga, she's been instrumental in bringing things to fruition.
Matt,
Brian, we talked earlier about her popularity, and I love to tell this story. But a few years ago, I was in Africa with Hazel. We were filming some of the situation with children suffering from HIV/AIDS for her charity, Hazel's Hope. And on the way home, we had an 8-hour layover in Amsterdam. And I think if you're going to be laid over in any airport in the world, Amsterdam's probably the best one you could be in. But at any rate, she came over to me and she said, let's go for a walk. Well, we went for a walk and it took us 2 hours to get back. People wanted her autograph. They wanted pictures with her. This was in the airport in Amsterdam. So she's well known. She's very well known.
Matt, she's 100. She's probably maybe three and a bit times your age. What could Hazel McCallion mean to someone like you or Heather?
Hazel, for myself, has been a fixture as far as leadership and achievement in our city. I mean, Hurricane Hazel, you could say that to anybody and they know exactly what you're talking about. And I think that if anything, she's an example of what we can all aspire to be as far as being a leader in what you do. And really, I mean, in many ways, she does seem often superhuman in terms of her tenacity, in terms of her she just keeps going. She's like the Energizer Bunny.
Absolutely. She's the same age or born the same year as my grandmother. So if my grandmother was still with us, she would be 100 this year. So I know in our family, we always say that. And it's so affirming to see Hazel still here with us, still so sharp, still with wisdom that is so important for us all to hear today, especially as we go through these difficult times. I think Hazel's someone who has evolved over the decades, and I feel that she's not afraid to say her opinion. She's very she doesn't hold back, and I think that that's so great to see someone 100 years old who can show us that example. So
Denise, you're a jazz performer. I've always thought that jazz would be one of the most difficult genres to excel in, because these instrumentalists can go off and do whatever they want on a riff, and how do you make it as a jazz singer? Like, it's got to be even more challenging than almost any other genre.
Yeah. It kind of is. How do you make it? Well, I came out with an album this year. I don't exactly have the greatest timing in the world, but I do still have a lot of hope for it. And that is one of the things you have to just keep on creating. And I think even more so now, you guys would all probably agree, like any genre, you do have to keep cranking out stuff. You have to be prolific. I got some work to do in that department. and online more so than ever, including jazz musicians. Jazz musicians, yeah, they have a harder time of it. It's gone a little bit by the wayside for sure. And the whole music industry, as you know, is having a hell of a time right now anyways for beginners. But yeah, it's just tough. It's a tough slog. You just have to accept that you have to love it and not be in it to think that you're going to be the next Diana Krall.
If people want to get your album or check you out, what's the easiest way to do that? On Spotify or something?
Oh yeah, on Spotify would be great. Denise Leslie Sings is my moniker. I've got a dedicated website, deniselesliesings.com, and I have something coming out right on Valentine's Day, but I won't talk about that right now.
Patty, you posted a couple of videos of you performing, like a decade or two or three ago. When you had your own TV show and a couple of singles that you were singing at Nathan Phillips Square. Tell me about that.
No.
Sorry, Patty.
Oh, Patty, yeah. There you go. What's going on?
Yeah, that you must have wondered what you were doing at Nathan Phillips Square in 1992. Yeah. Yeah. So, I had my career started early, so I've done a lot. When you're a professional since 17, you're spanning so much time, and my career evolved. So, after Poland, then I got a TV show, and then I got a record deal, and then I went to Europe, and I also had to go where they liked me. And I was a dance, pop, funk, R&B artist. They didn't like that too much.
You were singing disco.
I was singing disco too, yes, and writing those kinds of songs. So I had to go where they actually liked that music, which was usually the US, which was Japan, which was South America, which even Thailand. I mean, I went Italy, all over Europe, but not so much in Canada. I did 2 cross-Canada tours, and in the Blue Live tour bus with a crazy driver. And even though it was my band, because I was the only female, I had to sleep in the bunk that pulled out over the kitchen table every night, and I had to go across Canada like that. So I really have, lived the life. And so those things you saw was, at the time I was, I had some top 10 hits on the radio, and so I was asked to perform Nathan Phillips Square. The first Much Music one, I was the host of it as well. And that was really cool, because I'd just been on Electric Circus and with all my disco hits, and all those people were there. So that was really cool. And then I was also touring a bit with Ronnie Hawkins' band, because my manager managed Ronnie Hawkins too, as well as me, for 15 years. So I always had to open for Ronnie, and it's good. It was a paid gig. Why not? And use my band. So those things that you've been seeing are early shows from Nathan Phillips Square, where you could have 50 or 60,000 people. Like, I mean, remember those days, because yes, there's big concerts have happened, but at Nathan Phillips Square, it used to be like so huge.
I look forward to seeing you at Celebration Square with 50,000 people. This past year, Patty, you won a big award. Tell us about that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, where they tricked me. It was the Mississauga Music Walk of Fame, where I received a star. I was the 2020 inductee, and it was very special. I can't say enough how wonderful that was. It was a moment in my life I'll never forget, with my family and friends and everyone around, and I could hear my parents there, and especially my dad, because he was my biggest fan. You'd always hear his voice in the room, the big Italian voice, bravo, even if it was a rock concert, bravo, he would go, who's that guy? And he'd show up from work, and he had his tails on his tuxedo. But it was very special. And as I said, when Jim Tovey founded the Mississauga Music Walk of Fame, he called 3 people, myself, John Stewart, 4 people, Mike Beggs and Rick Cooper. And we were the ones that helped him through the years. And then when he passed away, we decided we had to keep it going. And so a small group got together, and now 2019 was the biggest one yet, when we brought Phil X in. And Phil X is a huge star, so he drew huge crowds, and Prakash John. And then we've continued on. We were not going to have an induction in 2020. That's what I was told. And we were just working on
And they decided to induct you. What a special honor.
Stronger, yeah. But and behind my back, they took me off the committee. So I just didn't know that. And then all of a sudden announced at a Zoom meeting, someone like this, but with about 20 more people, that I was getting the star. So
well, congratulations for that. That's an honor, very well deserved. Heather, I've been noticing on social media that you've been doing some music theater.
Theater? Well, I performed professionally as a teenager like Patty. When I was 15, I was hired to sing with the late, wonderful Nick Cordero, who passed of COVID early this year, but we spent a summer singing together in Canada's Wonderland and the big main stage shows that happened there. So the first year we were in Tropical, then a swing show the second summer. So that's really where I learned the ropes, doing 5 shows a day as a swing. So singing the various tracks of the show and dance tracks and really working it out, sweating it out. And then I performed with Stage West across Canada when I was 19 years old and doing film and dancing in movies and stuff in my early 20s. So that was kind of how my career began. And then as I've, as the years have gone on, I've really found my place more as a singer, band leader, and original songwriter. So definitely looking up to great women like Patty Janetta and the late, great, amazing Eleanor Calbez, who was our very first real matriarch of music theater here in the city of Mississauga. And she was given an award from Hazel McCallion in I think the 1980s. So definitely finding my place, finding my my role as a songwriter, and really listening to women like that and stepping up, rising, I can play piano. Let's do it. Stop making excuses.
Matt, if we want to check you out these days, or you and Heather, how do we do that? What are you performing these days?
Most of our performances these days are online. But if for myself, if you go to mattzaddy.com, you can find all my info there. Even if you just Google my name, there's very few Matt Zaddies. So pretty much everything comes up there. Both Heather and I have all of our music on streaming sites. Heather's site is heatherchristine.ca, and our duo, River North, which actually released a single during COVID called This Too Shall Pass, you can find at rivernorthcanada.com.
You two did a special Canada Day song, did you not?
Yeah, we were a part of a group with artists, the two of us and Arlene, who we did the Hazel song with, and also the Identity Crisis, or Paul Castro. We have a group together called From Far and Wide, and we wrote a song called We Are the North, which ended up becoming Mississauga's official Canada 150 song, and we opened the main stage at Celebration Square for Canada Day in July 2017. So that was amazing. It was one of those things, like we put the single out, and there was some talk about it locally, and we ended up doing a presentation in front of the councillors and the mayor in City Hall. And on the spot, I believe it was Jim Tovey who nominated for it to be the official Mississauga song for Canada 150. And on the spot, they did it. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call saying, "So I guess you're playing the main stage." I said, "Well, I guess so."
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with each one of you tonight. I wish that we could be playing each one of the songs that you're going to be performing on the February the 14th, but we'll all have to check into Facebook Live and or on YouTube on February the 14th for the special tribute to Hazel McCallion, the former mayor of Mississauga, who's turning 100 on the 14th. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to be joined, Ron and I, by Hazel McCallion, who's going to tell us a little bit about what the arts means to her, why she has supported the arts, and invite us all to join us for her birthday party. Thanks, Patty Janetta Baker and Denise Leslie, Matt Zaddy, and Heather Christine, as well as Ron Duquette, for joining us. We'll take a break and be back in just a minute. Well, welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. We've just enjoyed hearing from several of the different performers that are going to be performing on February the 14th at a Mississauga Arts Council tribute to former Mayor Hazel McCallion, who is turning 100 on February the 14th. Hazel, tell us a little bit about these young people that are performing and what it means to you to have such wonderful performers wanting to pay tribute to you. What does that mean to you? That must be special.
Well, the arts, is very, very important in a community. That's why I set up the Arts Council. And that's why all the money that my gala has raised is being contributed to arts, culture, and heritage. Because a community without concentration of the arts is not a community. Think of all the joy and enjoyment and enlightenment that they bring to the people. And the young people, I wanted the Arts Council to make sure, in fact, we built a living arts center so that someday the young artists of Mississauga would have an opportunity to perform in our own facility in Mississauga and not have to go to Toronto or outside of Mississauga. So the formation of the Arts Council and the building of the Living Arts Center was for the young artists.
And you've really been a big supporter of numerous artists over your career in Mississauga. Tell us about some of the ones that you're most proud of.
Well, I'm very proud of the symphony. We tried an opera, but unfortunately it didn't work. And then there was the Children's Festival of the Arts. And I raised, not I, but my group raised, my foundation raised a lot of money through the galas. And it was all for arts. We raised money for the Living Arts Center. And I wanted young artists to be given. I attended the Arts Council dinner last year. And what pleased me most was a lady who got an award for whatever she did in the arts. And when she got up to speak, she says, we have to thank the Hazel McCallion Foundation for the money they allocated to me for me to be on the stage tonight to receive this award. There's gotta be funding for the arts. Arts doesn't attract funding like sports do. And so it's very important that the money raised by my gala committee was for arts, culture, and heritage.
Well, and I think the arts have been important for you personally as well. I've had the privilege twice of being up on stage with you singing My Way.
Oh, at the Chinese celebrations.
Exactly. And you're a great singer.
Yeah, well, my mom was, she had a beautiful voice and she was a fantastic pianist. She was on radio on the Gaspé Coast, in fact. So I didn't learn to play the piano from her, but I did retain a little bit of a voice. A little bit, not much.
Sometimes I used
to say, maybe you should pay for me not to sing.
No, we want you to sing. I want to sing again with you sometime. Ron Duquette, we've got this event coming up on February the 14th. Tell everybody about it a little bit, please.
Well, again, it's a 100 years in 100 minutes. So it's we're covering Hazel's life throughout, her key salient points about her growing up and her contribution to creating this wonderful city that we have. And again, we're bringing together just some of the greatest artists we have in this city. And trust me, we have some terrific talent here. And then we've brought tribute messages from around the country, some people that Hazel will know very, very well. And believe me, there were a lot of people that wanted to say happy birthday to Hazel. We just couldn't take them all, but we've brought some of them in, and it's just going to be a fun show, and people can sit back and relax on Valentine's Day and enjoy celebrating the life of this incredible lady.
February the 14th on Facebook Live, as well as on YouTube, a tribute to former Mayor Hazel McCallion. Hazel and Ron, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.